Shalom, this is Amonute Tayac of Piscataway, your friendly neighborhood Shuman, Sophia Spiritualite, the AmaruKhan Miriyam, and we're here with a video covering Mahurta. I know that there's no coincidence that a couple of days ago I put out a video about the 8 great perfections, and right after that, Rod Hayes drops the bombshell onto Black Magic's channel, and everybody's talking about Mahurta. And after doing some research on it, what research I could do, a couple things are obvious to me that I want to point out, I want to discuss, I want to make sure people understand what's going on. First of all, it's always my belief that there are certain people who these things are inspiring these things, and they'll affect them differently. I refer them to us generally as original beings, as opposed to or indigenous beings, as opposed to the non-indigenous beings. However, we're all humans. One way or another, you can't incarnate into this sphere and walk around without having a human body. Let's put it that way. Therefore, these are things that should be considered. So when I looked at the guy, Dr. Cooley, I guess is how you pronounce his name, I looked at a couple videos from him discussing this event. So the way that they found the date for this, now remember, I have been telling y'all for over a year and a half, ever since I was given the tarot spiral with Lord Oseron, that there was no reason that we had to go into the age of Aquarius, that they were reading the spiral backwards, that we were going into the golden age. The mother revealed that to us many, many months ago, that we were not going into no age of Aquarius where we're going to be controlled and ruled and all of this stuff, and that we were on a different cycle going into the age of strength, the age of Leo, the golden age, and that we had the opportunity to continue to loop from golden age to golden age, and we did not have to go on to the doom loop. And if you listen to Rod Hayes discuss this, he literally talked about how we're on a loop, and he didn't call it a doom loop, but it's a doom loop. I did a whole video about the doom loop. So it's not that people are watching my videos and they're just stealing my material. It's actually that what we say is influencing the actual quote-unquote Akashic records. The Akashic records being Akasha, being Diana. Why are we affecting Diana? Because we've been working with Diana. Diana came to us a long time ago, gave us the Black Dove pendulum and a whole bunch of other stuff to work with her. We've been working with Diana, and what I'm starting to understand now is that the reason why the effects were not coming the way that they were supposed to is because we were not protected. They still had all kinds of magic on us, around us, everywhere, that was basically them siphoning off whatever good things that were supposed to come our way. The people who did have good things happen to them, they don't have necessarily this issue of being siphoned off. Me being a quote-unquote American citizen residing, having been born within that 10-mile radius of DC, they more than likely consider me property of their government. And so until I personally dealt with that issue, I could never get out of that. First was, of course, removing myself from that area, which I have done permanently, and then just doing the paperwork to follow it up. Even in spite of them, quote unquote, controlling my inheritance, my blessing, stealing it really, from the physical realm, what they could not do was touch me in the spiritual realm. And as many times as they tried, as many dreams have I shared about these people trying to take me out, trying to threaten me, trying to scare me, trying to whatever. In my dream state, even then they were unable to get what they wanted out of me, which was for me to take myself out. And I don't care if I have nothing. They're not going to get me to take myself out. It's not about what I have. So, that being said, Dr. Curry said that they just found this information in the Akashic Records a few months ago. This is how they access the Akashic Records. Now, this is under the guidance of our brothers and sisters, probably mostly brothers, in India. So this is tying in with the Indian text, okay? So what they do is they have a little group, and they have taught them how to read the Akashic Records through mental wandering, basically. And so they ask 1,000 people every week what they see in the Akashic Records regarding the Mahurta. And all of a sudden, a few months ago, and I'll tell you what we were doing a few months ago, because he didn't say when, he just said a few months ago. But all of a sudden, a few months ago, they started to see in the Akashic Records, oh shit, the Mahurta is here. The Kali Yuga's over. They just started seeing it. Well, let's talk about what we were doing a few months ago. If they mean August is when they saw it. Remember, we had a fast, 40 plus days that we started on August 1st. That was the Restore Daughter Zion fast. Whoever Daughter Zion may be, we requested that she be restored. That started on August the 1st. September the 1st, we started our financial new year to correspond with the fiscal new year for these governments and the ecclesiastical new year for the church. November the 3rd, or somewhere around there, we started a 22-day fast for Saturn coming out of retrograde, which the theme was, of course, mourning the loss of the 2/3. So we have been through 2 cycles of 40-day fast in August, 2 cycles of 22-day fast in around Saturn going direct. So we established that we were really willing and serious to do the work of bringing restoration and peace to this planet by always maintaining that we don't want any unnecessary deaths and no unnecessary pain and suffering. Now, Dr. Curie mentioned that it takes about 81,000 people focused on something to move the whole planet. And so he was describing these leaders, gurus, whatever you call them, and how how many people they are leading because of how many people come to their events. So, for example, you have one of these guys. He is powerful enough to control the energy of 10,000 people. 10,000 people show up at his events. Why do I say this? This is what the YouTube suppression has been about, just the social media suppression in general. To make us think, especially me, being that I'm actually on social media, to make me believe that my impact is much less than it is. Because, I've only got 580 subscribers, so it doesn't matter what I say on the internet. That's bullshit. And it's 100% because I could see clearly Cat Williams started the year with truth, and it's been nothing but truth bomb after truth bomb after truth bomb. Now everybody is starting to talk about, even Rod Hayes was talking about how these people, it was really weird. He was talking about how these people are shapeshifters, and it's a lot of people are shapeshifters, but we hold the shape from where we come. And so, him being called out as being affiliated with the Anunnaki, I heard someone discuss that the Anunnaki are related to bees, Melissa. So you have a group of people who are very warlike, you know, what they call fighter bee like, I guess, in their behavior, like a Rod Hayes, like a Brother Remedy. You know, they're very warlike in their posture. They're very bee-like in their posture, very aggressive. And you have some other people who are less aggressive, so on and so forth. So the point of the matter is, when I said that these people jumped out of their shapes in Miami, they couldn't hold their shapes due to what Mars was doing in relations to Sirius. That's probably an accurate statement. Wasn't making that up. And more people, I just did a whole video about this. As Mars gets, more powerful, they won't be able to hold their shapes because Mars is going to force them into truth. Mars and Mercury. Speaking of Mercury, we have the last. Did I write Mercury down? Yeah. Before I say that, we had at solstice, we had a Mercury Cazimi at the same time of solstice, and just now we're coming to the end of these Neptune squares in the astrology, which we're going to look at the chart too. So the Mercury Cazimi at solstice means it's going to unfold. She said over the next 6 months. I'm assuming it's going to be over the next 2 years. Just due to the nature of how rare that is to have a Mercury Cazimi at solstice. Also, this weekend, we have the last Moon-Pluto conjunction for 250 years because Pluto is leaving out of Aquarius and out of Pisces going into Aquarius. Oh, no, Pluto's in Capricorn. Wherever Pluto is leaving out of that, going into the next one. So there's going to be no more moon, whatever Pluto's sign is now, which we'll talk about in a minute. There's going to be no more of those conjunctions for 250 years until Pluto gets back into this sign. I think it's in Capricorn, actually. The black moon is also transiting Pluto, which, when the moon transits Pluto, it also activates the black moon, which we'll talk about that, and also as in another video. And also, this is in elemental fire year. So we have all of our Mercury retrogrades in fire signs this year. Last year was an elemental earth year, which was laying the foundation, very fall-like, getting us ready. And this year we have an elemental fire year. So we're going straight from planting season to actually, no, it's not true. Winter basically was last year because earth signs are related to coins. Well, not really. Coins and I don't know. Well, anyway, next year we have an elemental fire year. Let's just say it that way. And of course, fire is Aries, Taurus, Gemini. That's in the fire quadrant. Spring. Or it's summer. I don't know, depending on how you look at it. All right, let's take a look at for people who follow the Hebrew thing, January 15th is Shavat 1. Let me mention. Okay, so the Mahurta, before we're going to look at some websites too, I forgot. The Mahurta, as described by Dr. Curry, and we have a article to read about that too. The Mahurta is a very specific time period, which is where we as the sentient beings make our requests known to the Most High, because we have a direct phone line wide open to the Most High to have our requests heard and get our requests met. Okay, so what do I think that is? Let's take a look at this chart. So originally, when I first looked at this chart, especially once I got the time, which the time for this is 1:30 a.m. Eastern, and 6 hours before, 6 hours behind, or it's 12 noon Indian time, so Indian Standard Time. So you can pull up a calculator, find it out. But if you can translate your time zone to Eastern, it's 1:30 a.m. on January the 15th, which is Monday, 1:30 a.m. Okay. So at first, like I said, I didn't notice anything special, but then something jumped out to me. We have a trine between Sedna, which is at 29 degrees of Taurus, and Pluto, which is at 29 degrees of Taurus. Now, both of these entities move extremely slow. So it is not just these energies that are causing this. However, this is, I feel like, a catalyst for what's happening at the galactic center. Now, the galactic center is 27 degrees of Sagittarius. And these two things at 29 degrees are well within the orb. Also, like I mentioned, we're out of these Neptune squares at this point. This is before Neptune can get into some kind of conjunction energy with these 2 points and kind of throw this energy off. It's really kind of like a time thing, just because of the way the planets move. You don't want to have Neptune involved in this. So especially, I think there will be like a square because it's in Pisces and Earth. So you don't want to have these kind of things going on in your chart. Oh, we're going to come back to this. All right, let's take a look at the articles. All right, here we go. All right, so as normal, I went through and I pulled up a few things. Let's talk about the Mahurta first. So the Mahurta, the Brahma Mahurta, is basically waking up. So let's read this article. It's very, very interesting. Every day at 4:30 a.m., my grandfather is busy waking up his favorite gods on the altar in his sacred murmurs. When he is done, he meditates and goes for a long walk. Ah, what a beautiful morning, he exclaims every day after he returns home. Brahma Mahurta means the creator's time. The creator, or Brahma, is the ultimate knowledge, and Mahurta means time period. The Brahma Mahurta is the time period perfect to perceive the ultimate knowledge. And it's interesting that it's 12 noon in the middle of the day in Indian Standard Time, but of course it's the middle of the night here in the Americas. So that should really tell you something. Anyway, Brahma Mahurta time is early morning period between 3:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. Mahurta is 48 minutes. Brahma Mahurta starts exactly 2 Mahurta before sunrise. Hence, it begins 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise and ends 48 minutes before it. So we're talking about a 48-minute window before sunrise, basically. As we know, that time of sunrise differs for seasons and geographical locations. Brahma Mahurta also varies accordingly. My grandfather always had an intimate affair with early morning, specifically the period of Brahma Mahurta, the 1.5 hours before sunrise. So much so that you'd find him in his early morning routine despite the winter chill. He believes his ritual has kept him in the pink of his health. Despite being in his 80s, he walks and sits with an erect posture and has no diseases whatsoever. Looks like the medical experts of yore agreed with him. Brahmi Mahurtam, I can't read that. A treatise on Ayurveda says that waking up during Brahma Mahurta increases one's lifespan and helps avoid diseases. Brahma Mahurta, me time redefined. The benefits of a disease-free body and an increased lifespan are appealing. However, my grandpa's love for early mornings stems from something much deeper. In his own words, it's his me time, he explained to me. He said that from morning to night we are giving to the demands of the world. The day is spent in fulfilling professional, social, family responsibilities. A little time is left for oneself in the night. But in that period, you are left with no energy. The only time when you are fresh, aware, and can easily tune within is Brahma Mahurta timing, making it a special time for yourself. The benefits: boost immunity, increases energy level, help maintains the balance of blood pH, relieves pain, soreness, and cramps, enhances the absorption of minerals and vitamins. So here's 5 things to do. Meditation is always good. Read or hear knowledge. Plan your day. Introspect. Remember your parents, guru, and God. Let me read this one. We do not often get the time to remember the most important people in our lives. Rishi Sunak suggests remembering and mentally bowing down to your parents, guru, and the energy that you believe runs this creation. Call it God or universal energy during this period. What don't you do? 1. Do not eat during Brahma Mahurta. Okay? No stressful activity. It's not when you go to the gym, right? It reduces one's lifespan. It says people, most people can do it. All right. So, this whole concept of the Brahma Mahurta is talking about the time when one wakes up, the time that you devote to the Creator. All right. So let's read about Sedna in astrology. So I hope everybody understands kind of that whole thing. We'll probably be incorporating a few of these things into our fast, making it a more multi-dimensional fast than we've done in the past. All right, so let's talk about the mythology of Sedna. I'm not going to get involved with that. All right. All right, here's the mythology of Sedna. Now remember, Sedna is conjunct with Pluto on the 15th. It's been conjunct with Pluto for a while because Sedna moves very, very slow. Pluto moves very slow. So they've been conjunct for a great bit of time. But now they're conjunct with most of the planets direct, a bunch of stuff out of retrograde. I mean, same thing. A bunch of stuff out of retrograde, and we're outside of these Neptune squares, and also we're outside of this Mercury Cazimi, plus the after effects of the Mercury retrograde. We're also out of the shadow of a few other things. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Almost everything is direct in our sky. That's the most important point. And we're out of the shadow of Mercury retrograde and the Neptune squares on the 15th. So, once upon a time, this is the story of Sedna, okay? Once upon a time, before the white men and all others, the Inuit hunted the land and fished the land. In this time was a great hunter whose wife had died long ago, leaving him a girl child. The hunter would raise the child himself. The child grew to become a very beautiful woman, with many suitors seeking her hand. The hunter was proud for his daughter. She could sew good clothing, and in all the land none was so pretty. Finally, the hunter decided would who would marry his daughter. With pride, he called his daughter to his side and said, "Daughter, I have chosen your husband. It will be this man." The daughter disagreed and would not take the man selected. The great hunter felt shamed, and in anger, the great hunter said, "You have shamed me. Since you will not accept the man, then you will have my dog, for that is all that is fit for a girl child who dishonors her father." During the night, the hunter's dog came in and visited the daughter. On this night, he took her as his wife. When the great hunter realized what had occurred, once again he was ashamed and cried out, "Daughter, you are with the child of my dog, and shame me again. You will be placed in isolation as you deserve no better." With that, the great hunter took his daughter and isolated his daughter so no others would be shamed by her. But the dog husband loved the daughter, for she was gentle and kind, and so save his love and the mother of his litter. Dog would swim out to the island, his pack laden with food and skins. And lo and behold, the daughter survived and gave birth to a litter, some human and some dog children. Pause. This is probably really disgusting, and I was like, why is this happening right now? I don't even know. There have been a rise in people on Twitter, black women, not the other ones, black women on Twitter discussing or literally discussing their intimate contact with dogs, okay? And, people have said that it's not our people. No, there was a girl. She had posted some pictures talking about stuff like that. And then her parents found out and they actually put her out the house. So then it was her and a dog and she's living out of her car and all this stuff. So I was wondering what that was in relation to. And then when I read this story, I realized, oh, that girl must have Sedna like really heavily aspected in her chart. So anyway, I don't know why that was important to mention, but I thought I would just throw it out there. It was quite disturbing to me myself, actually. Some children. Okay. The great hunter, finding out about this perceived atrocity, was enraged. Unknowingly to dog, the hunter filled the packs with heavy stones, so the dog swam out with supplies. But the pack was too heavy and the seas too rough. Dog sank to the bottom and drowned. Several days later, the great hunter, feeling remorse for his only child, set out in his kayak laden with food to make amends, but was driven back when, in her grief, daughter sent her dog children to attack their grandfather. Fearing reprisals from her father, the daughter, in efforts to save her children, placed her dog children in a seaskin boot and set them adrift upon the seas, praying to the gods of the air to see them safe. And so they were. They floated out to sea and became the ancestors of the white men. Okay, pause right there. Now, when she says the ancestors to the white men, this makes me think that they weren't physical dogs, but they were dog-like in behavior. They acted like dogs, right? I hope that makes sense. And it also would make sense why the sons of Lot, who were these weird people, cave people, would then mix with these quote-unquote dog people, because they were all deformed. Something was wrong with them, okay? Not to be as gentle as I can with that, okay? So several days later, wait. With her remaining boot, the daughter placed her human children inside and once again prayed to the gods and set them adrift. The human children floated away to become the ancestors of the Indians. Okay, so again, the Inuits, Indians, not the Aboriginals, and these quote-unquote white men, they come from the same stock. Now, if she put them in her boot, I'm assuming that this woman was a giant, okay? Like, in all practical sense, we're talking about probably, maybe not a Nephilim, but a giant woman, okay? This could be the story. Could it? This could be the story of the daughter that, oh man, from the Book of Remembrance. Okay, y'all remember in the Book of Remembrance, this just came to mind. This is crazy. Y'all remember in the Book of Remembrance where we were talking about her, Iona, Iona, the one who had the one whose daughter had a child that was a Nephilim, female. This could be that daughter. Sedna could be her daughter. Because it says the mother died, but did the mother really die? Or did she just go back to her first husband, which is what it says in the Book of Remembrance? So you got to put these stories together. These are these are continuous stories. So anyway, because how could a human have children by a dog unless it was not really a human? It would have to been a entity that was capable of intermixing and interbreeding with these variety of different entities. And so it's not that these people are physically dogs or whatever. It's just a way of explaining the spirit that dwells within them. Okay. I know y'all remember that story from the Book of Remembrance of our ancient grandmothers, where the guy stole the girl away and forced her to have intercourse on her period, and that's how they created the Nephilim and all the crap that went along with that, okay? All right, so now the daughter was alone and without food, and the great hunter was fearful to return with supplies. Each day before hunting, he would look across the sea and his daughter, his daughter, but would never venture out to her again. One day, as he glanced out, his daughter was no longer there. She had disappeared. For during his hunt, a handsome man in a kayak appeared, and seeing the beautiful daughter, stopped. "Come with me, daughter, for I am a great hunter and will provide you with food and a home," said the handsome man. And so the daughter went. En route to her new far-off home, they stopped along the way, and the handsome man removed his clothing, for the sun was high and the kayaking is hard work. The girl burst into tears, for now standing before her was not a handsome man, but a northern fulmar, a birdman in a human form. Does this not sound like Thoth? His eyes were black, his muscles bulging. Without the need for human clothing, the fulmar now made good speed, and soon he and the daughter were at his nest tent. Listen, this got to be talking about like Thoth, or an Atlantean entity. I guess they would probably take all the Atlantean entities and give them bird heads, right? So we got to be talking about an Atlantean entity. All right, time went by, and true to his word, the fulmar provided food and warmth to the daughter, and she did not want for anything. Together they had a child. The father had continued his search for his daughter, feeling remorse at how pride had made him treat his only child, and after many years of travel, he once again found his daughter in the land of the fulmar. The father arrived when the fulmar was away, and seeing his daughter, he burst into tears. "Forgive me, daughter, I have come to take you home." With these words, the father scooped up his daughter with his kayak and began making his way home. How ridiculous is this story, by the way? The fulmar returned, and seeing his wife gone, set out to rescue her, and in his bird form was able to catch up and try to regain his wife. The winds beat down on the water as he swooped, trying to make the father turn back. The waves grew bigger and almost capsized the kayak, and the father, in fear of dying, threw his daughter overboard so he could get away, but she held upon the kayak by her fingers. The hunter, in abject terror, now took his knife, and with one blow chopped off a finger. It fell into the sea, and behold, it became a seal and swam away. The hunter chopped off another finger, and it too became a walrus. The hunter chopped off a third finger, and it became the bearded seal. With each finger being chopped, so the sea mammals were made. Finally, not being able to grasp the kayak, the daughter sank to the bottom of the seas. As she sank, the moon spirit, Tayac, and the air spirit, Sela, combined together and said, "For your hardship, we give you the power of all, so that you will become the guardian for the Intuit." With that, Sedna was born and created a kingdom which lies at the bottom of the sea, and once again reunited with her dog husband. The father made good in his escape, but memories of his daughter gave him great remorse, so that one day he lay down at the edge of the sea and asked his daughter to forgive him. As he slept, the tide came out and reunited him with his daughter. Together all dwelled at the bottom of the sea. What happened to the other husband? Okay, now with the Intuit transgress, now listen to this part. When the Intuit transgress against another Intuit or the land, Sedna will make the sea mammals scarce and cause seas and the air to storm, displaying her anger to her people. It is then that the shaman must travel down to the kingdom and discover the roots of the problems, and then solve and rectify them with the people. Only then will Sedna be placated and calm the weather and release the mammals so that the Intuit do not suffer starvation. In some cases, the shaman can enter a trance-like state to visit Sedna, or can be given the ability to breathe underwater. Sedna keeps a comb, and when shamans visit, it is expected that they comb her hair from algae, for she cannot hold the comb herself. Okay, so if y'all remember, now we're going into the Wayback Machine. I'm going to see if I can find This is so weird the way that this thing works. All right. If you all remember, when I started doing videos again, one of the first videos that I did was in relation to Sedna being the one of the prophecies against AmaruKhan. If I find that video, I'll share it. But I remember saying that AmaruKhan was going to be in pretty big trouble because they was going to have to deal with this energy. I'm going to have to go through and look at my my actual page and find a video. But I do remember Sedna coming up. So, and if you see that her job basically is to force people to make peace, well, then you can understand what's going on here. Sedna has been called in to force these people to make peace. We are seeking peace. This is why we had to stop fighting back, because as long as we were fighting, they could say, well, they're fighting, we're fighting too. So that's why we're not fighting anymore. So the Mahurta, the end of the age of fighting, of warring, is over because we said we're done fighting. It wasn't because someone else did something else. It was what we did. The women, the daughters, is what we did. We said no more. And whoever was still saying we want more fighting, obviously they don't have influence over that many people. So it doesn't matter how many people are following me online. I can clearly see how many people I have followed, how many people we have impact over, just based on the fact that they found out it's the end of the age, and all of a sudden we're going into this Mahurta, and this came out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere. So let's go back now to our page here. So we Sedna is the one that's at 29 degrees of Taurus. As you can see, I'm going to read it, and this is Calamos. Okay, so here's what you can do. Let me just now that you have a background of what's going on, the different energies involved, and the different players. Of course, you should know a lot about Pluto by now. I'm not going to go into too much of that, except to say that Pluto is the father. Okay. So you have the father joined with Sedna, the daughter. You know what I mean? Like, so you can see what's going on. Neptune is the mother. The mother is always kind of, hiding, trying not to bring too much, whatever onto the father, onto the daughter, to the kids in general. So that's why Neptune can't really be involved in it. This is not about, per se, the mother's role in this particular situation. This is more so about the daughter's role, okay? Just to make that clear. And of course, Uranus is basically like the sun, which, anyway, no one has ever said that on the internet, so I have to do another video on that. So during this 6-hour period from 1:30 a.m. it's a 3 hours before 1:30 a.m. Eastern and 3 hours after 1:30 a.m. Eastern. It's a 6-hour window in total. So you can do the math for your time zone. And on Eastern, we're on daylight savings time. So if you're in Arizona, that means you're only 2 hours behind, and everywhere else that's on daylight savings is 3 hours. Okay, I should mention that because people don't know that we change clocks here. So this is what I'm suggesting. Now, Dr. Crowley does have a Zoom call. If you are into those kind of things, feel free to go to his channel. I'll remember to link the video below so that you can get access to that. I did share a video by him earlier, which also had the Zoom link in it. So you're welcome to go to that. What I am going to do is I'm going to take a blue candle, and with my, I'm using gold ink. He suggests gold ink. I understand why, because this is the sun, and the blue is with Jupiter. So he says that you want to have 3 prayers written. The 3 prayers are related to, this is how I would write it. Now, he just basically said, I am so grateful for whatever it is because of whatever reason, even if it's a selfish reason, no matter. Whatever it is, that's how you put it. We over here, we do I am statements because that is what unites us to the universe. So instead I have I am so grateful for whatever it is because of whatever reason. And you have three different prayers. One in relation to self, what you want, what you need for yourself. This is your personal I am list for what you need for yourself. The second one is relation to family, especially your parents and your ancestors up to 6 generations. That's what is specifically said when you're looking at ancestors. You're talking about back to 6 generations. Okay? And for the planet. So I am so grateful that we are experiencing peace on earth. I am so grateful that everyone's getting their karma. Whatever thing you can think of to ask for everyone. You want to do that during the 6-hour period. Okay? So I wrote my stuff out already because I wanted to be prepared. So I just did a bunch of things in relation to these things, asking for what I want. Okay. The next thing I did was I tapped into, of course, the energy over Sedna and the energy over Pluto. And Sedna is Calamos. It's at 29 degrees of Taurus. As you can see, 29 degrees of Taurus. It says this spiritual light can reveal this spirit intelligence can reveal to the spiritualite excellent methods for the grafting of plants in our physical world. But since he has a great affection for the sea and he lives in the sea, he can, apart from that, name the spiritualite's special spiritual methods by which he gets under control his power and controls everything that lives in the water. So you can ask this guy for help in relations to grafting things in, i.e., the Gentiles who are going to be grafted into us, protecting them, and so on and so forth. And you can also ask him to use water or magnetic energy to help you, teach you. It says to teach you how to avoid. He can also teach him how to protect himself during voyages. So I asked for America, the American people, and daughter Zion, for this guy to help specifically with our passage from this age to the next age, so that we can navigate this passage of time easier, effectively, right? All right, so let's talk about 29 degrees of, I don't know what's going on. 29 degrees of Capricorn. This is Ekarim. If you did the full moon ritual with us, you have already seen this name. This is spirit intelligence we already talked about, but I'll just review it quickly here. And this is where Pluto is. Okay, this spirit intelligence has been teaching mankind from its prime origin how to create most manifold shapes from earth, gypsum, and clay. In accordance with its development, this guy has inspired mankind to make pots, vessels, statues, and the like from clay. So basically, this is the person who can help shape the outcome of this planet. He can have an influence on shaping the outcome of our lives. I asked him for helping us shape the outcome of our children. Stuff related to that. So I also put those on my candle. And so I'll tell you the saint for that day, because it's always helpful to tie it into a saint. Come back over here. And the saint is Saint Paul of Thebes, which is not to be confused with the Paul from the Bible, right? Let me read this to you, okay? Saint Paul of Thebes was born in Egypt around 227 in the Thebaid of Egypt. Left orphaned, he suffered many things from a greedy relative over his inheritance. Does this not sound like us? During the persecution against Christians under the Emperor Decius, Saint Paul learned of his brother-in-law's insidious plan to deliver him to the hands of the persecutors. So he fled the city and fled into the wilderness. Settling into a mountain cave, St. Paul dwelt there for 91 years. He lived in a cave for 91 years and never interacted with people. Praying incessantly to God both day and night, he sustained himself on dates and bread, which a raven brought to him, and he clothed himself with palm leaves, just like Saint Mary of Egypt, okay? Saint Anthony the Great, whose feast day is coming up, who also lived as an ascetic in a Thebaid desert, had a revelation from God concerning St. Paul. St. Anthony thought that there was no other desert dweller such as he. Then God said to him, Anthony, there is a servant of God more excellent than you, and you should go see him. St. Anthony went into the desert and came to St. Paul's cave. Falling to the ground before the entrance of the cave, he asked to be admitted. The elders introduced themselves and embraced one another. They conversed through the night, and St. Anthony revealed how he had been led there by God. St. Paul disclosed to Anthony that for 60 years a bird had brought him half a loaf of bread each day. Now the Lord sent a double portion, hallelujah, in honor of St. Anthony's visit. The next morning, St. Paul spoke to St. Anthony of his approaching death and instructed him to bury him. He also asked St. Anthony to return to his monastery and bring back the cloak he received from St. Athanasius. I can never pronounce these names. He did not really need the garment, but wished to depart from his body while St. Anthony was absent. As he was returning with the cloak, St. Anthony beheld the soul of St. Paul surrounded by angels, prophets, and apostles, shining like the sun and ascending to God. He entered the cave. This is what you want, by the way, just a pause. When you leave, this is what you want. You want all of these entities, these deities, these saints, these apostles, these angels to come and take you directly where you're going. You don't want to be, and if you listen to Dr. Curry's video, the one that I'm going to link in this video, he says specifically that if you do bad stuff, you like are looking at the light, but you can't get to it. You on the outside of the door, and then someone comes and talks to you and says, yeah, you know, what do you think? You think you deserve to go in there? And if you don't think you deserve to go in the door, you get back in line and you're back on the wheel. So just, you know, this guy, he didn't even get asked a question, because when he left his body, St. Paul had all of the saints, the apostles, and the the angels come and meet him. Okay, this is what you want. This is the goal. He entered into the cave and found Abba Paul on his knees with his arms outstretched. St. Anthony mourned for him and wrapped him in the cloak. He wondered how he would bury the body. Listen to this. For he had not remembered to bring a shovel. 2 lions came running from the wilderness and dug a grave with their claws. St. Anthony, the holy elder, buried the holy elder and took his garment of palm leaves. Then he returned to his own monastery. St. Anthony kept his garb as a precious inheritance and wore it only twice a year, on Pascha and Pentecost. If you see me go, remember Elijah and Elisha. Elijah told Elisha, if you see me go, you will get a double portion. And that's exactly what that's exactly what we see here. This is why you have to know the stories of the Bible so you know what the people are referencing to. I knew exactly what that was referenced to. If you see me go, what did Elijah do? He dropped down his garment to Elisha, and then Elisha was able to use the garment to perform the miracle of walking across the water. I mean, this is not rocket science, but you got to have a good understanding of these stories in order to be able to make that connection right there, because they didn't say it. I just knew what it meant exactly when I heard it. Even the thing with the bird bringing him the bread. Remember, how did the manna get delivered to the people? They said it fell from the sky. It could have been birds bringing the quote-unquote manna or the sorghum from some other place to them. This is how this stuff works. This is not like magic, you know. It's just literally how the stuff works. That's exactly what that makes me think of, okay? So this talks about where his relics go. Okay, he did not establish a single monastery. Look at this. But soon after his end, there were many imitators of his life, and they filled the desert with monasteries. Listen, just because while you on this earth, you don't get to see the impact that you have, when you leave, you will be remembered. This is how it works. He didn't have children. These were total strangers who heard about this guy and was like, man, we have to honor him. I want to be like St. Paul. So that is the saint of that day. So of course you can ask the saint to assist you with restoration of your inheritance, because remember, the story started because his uncle wanted to steal his inheritance. So instead of fighting with his uncle, letting his uncle kill him for the inheritance, he ran off into the woods. Now it's time for us to reemerge from the woods, reemerge from the desert, and we need our inheritance restored to us. And Saint Paul knows exactly how to handle situations with greedy relatives stealing stuff that doesn't belong to them. If you understand what I mean. Let me just make sure I went over everything on my list. So, if you don't know how to do all that stuff, just light yourself a blue candle, write down your I am so grateful for the things that you want that you don't have. And you should be able to get it. Now, one thing I did get confirmation of, we should be able to ask for a direct confirmation. This gentleman, Dr. Curie, he says all the time, he asks them to show him, give him a direct confirmation that they are working for him. So when I said that a long time ago, that was not a unusual thing. We should be asking for direct confirmation that we're going to get these things. So when I do my prayer with the candles, then I will ask for direct confirmation that I am being heard, and we should demand to be heard. There's no reason why we shouldn't be heard. We haven't been heard because these people have been LARPing at us, but now that we've come back into our power, we're out of this drunken stupor, and we're showing up and saying, hey, I just like the prodigal son, I don't have to live amongst the pigs. At least in my father's house I can be a servant. We have to, okay, if I can be a servant at your, what did the father do? He put his ring on him. They killed the fattened calf. They had a whole big party. And we can ask for proof that the father is going to restore us. We can ask for that. And that's one thing that I'll definitely be asking for. Keep it in mind. So I hope that this video has been helpful. Mahurta is just it's something that we need to be doing all the time, especially the Brahma Mahurta. But in this case, it refers to this specific time period, January 15th, 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, plus 3 hours on either side of that. Adjust for your time zone. But basically it's 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and this gives us the opportunity to get out in front of whatever these quote unquote negative entities think that they're going to do. They're not going to be able to do any of it. It's just going to be too bad because our energy is way too strong for them to actually do anything about. Like if we can get everybody out here telling the truth, all this kind of stuff that's going on, they don't have that. They don't have that ability. That's the only ability we have. And we have the responsibility to use it well. And we have the responsibility to stand up and say, yes, we want the whole planet to be free. We don't want to say only us free. We want everyone to be free. And then those who can be grafted in, let them be grafted in. And the ones who are going to serve us in peace, let them serve us in peace. So that we can tour the world, see the sights, and be joyful. Let everybody have peace. But peace has to begin with me. So it's like, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And that's what we're doing when we stand up and take control of this type of energy. So I hope this video has made sense. I know I rambled on a little bit, but it's a lot of information. I didn't want to leave anything out. I had a list, and even still, my list wasn't in order. So we might do that a little bit more starting when I can return the screen. So, of course, you're welcome to like, comment, subscribe, share, unlike, uncomment, unsubscribe, unshare. If you find this information to be useful and helpful, please send me a Cash App at Dominique Rebel. I'd be greatly appreciative of that. If you're able to contribute to my situation here, I would be very, very grateful for that. Of course, as always, I'm lighting a candle for everyone. So if you can do nothing but say your own prayer out loud, don't worry about it. I got you. We got a candle already lit on behalf of our people for the restoration of our country and our women. We already got that in the works. So don't worry about it. This is just so everyone knows what's going on, because there's going to be a lot of misinformation, them trying to change the story around, blah, 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 blah. And I just want to make sure everyone understands what's happening. So, of course, if you need me, feel free to send me an email. And